Okay, can you hear me now? Is that
Yeah, I
better?
can. Much better. Go for it.
All right. Well, I just wanted to dovetail what you guys are talking about with Robert Reich. I'm really glad that he's starting to, talk more and more and more. I hear a lot about his speeches that were in support of Bernie, not really mentioning his name.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, when people say, well, he doesn't have support of, I'm not going to say the establishment, but here's a person who, was, the Secretary of Labor
Mm-hmm.
during the time of the Clintons, and in fact, he also left the Clintons because of the welfare reforms that were signed into play. But it's really, important to see that this type of action, and what you're also mentioning about corporations, a lot of people say, well, the corporations are bad. There's some corporations that do well. They pay their workers well.
Right.
And like you're saying, it's not a zero-sum game where you have people who, just because they're capitalists, like I have my grandfather, he's very Berkeley type, and and that kind of thing. And I'm telling no, not every corporation is bad, and if you always make it that way, I'll consider Costco as a really good example in terms of they pay their workers well, they give fairly good benefits. Some things have changed, because the owner's not the same person anymore, but for the most part, it is one of the best places to work. If you just have a high school diploma and need a place to work, and that is, last time I checked, they're on the ticker tape,
Yeah.
So it's disingenuous for people to say that. And then furthermore, when they're talking about, I'm glad to start in your normal, as watching more and more about how businesses allow, and I'm sorry, as I was talking about how if we were to go for a single payer system, it will benefit businesses.
Yep.
Because they don't have to deal with, how they're going to have to deal with the Medicare, workers. It's just taking, as far as I understand, I believe it's 2.2%.
Mm-hmm.
And you never have to worry about co-payments or, at the worst, that, most bankruptcies in the United States were because of medical bills.
Right.
So if we take that out of the equation, that's a huge factor right there, coupled with, Robert Reich talked about making, as Bernie Sanders does, making educational available to everyone. I think we do need to work on, I think, in terms of Bernie's campaign, in terms of existing student loan debt, what can we do about that?
Right.
But for the most part, this is great. Hey, the New Hampshire primaries, thank you for having me on your show.
Hey, man, thanks so much for the call. Thanks so much for the call and your insight. 857-600-0518. You guys, I've always I noticed early on that I have some really smart listeners. Some of you guys are so smart, I have to